Yeah. Lil Brunson back at you with the back at you, and I am the best reporting on the Eagles. Let's not act like that we don't know that Desean Jackson has been just dismantling the competition in training camp. Now, that's not. It's not really much you could say from that because some would say that we have a bunch of inexperienced corners, but we got some corners that have played against some top-notch opposition over the last 2 seasons. I mean, these corners have won playoff games, whether they're young or not. Desean Jackson is really out there making these guys look really silly in practice. So we're going to go over some of Desean Jackson's most unstoppable routes in ways that Carson Wentz is going to be able to exploit a lot of defenses this year, and ways that Desean Jackson is going to be able to free up a lot of space for other people. So what we have right here is a mini route tree. So, of course, there's more routes in the tree than this, but I think these routes right here display what Desean Jackson can do. Obviously, this is Desean Jackson right here, So we can go over the obvious ones. A couple simple crossing patterns. Now, what this crossing pattern does, if Desean Jackson runs this, is it'll keep whoever that cornerback is on notice. So if Desean Jackson runs this crossing pattern after play action, these crossing patterns are pretty good for picking up short yardage. And with his speed, you can exploit mismatches like crazy with a crossing pattern with Desean Jackson. Now, it depends on what hash mark you're on, but if you want to bring Desean Jackson in this way and you're on the far right hash mark, Desean Jackson can work that middle of the field, make somebody miss, and then take this crossing pattern out and probably be gone. With the speed that Desean Jackson has, any one of these plays is pretty much a lights out play. So the crossing pattern is pretty self-explanatory, but I don't think that that's one of his most deadly routes. Now, the comeback route for Desean Jackson is one of his most deadly routes right here in the tree. Now, what the comeback route does for a guy with Desean Jackson's speed is the comeback route gets those hips moving and those hips turned as a cornerback. A lot of cornerbacks like to start off and they like to, come up in press man coverage, and they like to play Desean Jackson really close. Now, if Desean Jackson can beat you off that first step and you're behind him. Now, I think the Philadelphia Eagles need to run a lot like an option comeback route for Desean Jackson sometimes. I'll explain. So now, if Desean beats you off the line of scrimmage in a design play as a comeback route, so if he already beat you to this point and you're behind him and he decides to come back, that could potentially be an interception. Now, if Desean Jackson is beating you to this point, I would extend it. If he got a step on you, if he put that hand up, I would extend that comeback route to a design go route or a post route, and he's gone, especially if it's a blitz or it's man on man or it's just, listen, if it's nobody over the top, you shouldn't be running no comeback route with Desean Jackson, period. You need to be swinging for the fences. Now, the comeback route is just deadly. Now, if you need a quick 8 yards to comeback route, come on. Man coverage to comeback route. He creates so much separation with his speed off the line that a lot of times these guys are backpedaling on his comeback route. And when he gets your hips turned, then he cuts back to the ball. Comeback route is a timing play. You know what I mean? A comeback route is not a route that is to be thrown if you don't have impeccable timing down with your wide receiver. Now we can get into another one. We can get into the post. The post is just virtually unstoppable in one-on-one coverage with Desean Jackson. Nobody in the NFL, in my opinion, from a cornerback standpoint or a safety, is going to be able to run a deep post with Desean Jackson. Now, if that safety comes down and cheats, like what we did against Tampa Bay last year, a perfect example, I think Malcolm Jenkins came down and cheated, or was it Rodney McLeod? Somebody came down and cheated, and Desean hit us for the post route. I think it was the first play of the game, something like that, 75-yard touchdown. I think that was one of the plays that helped him break Jerry Rice's record. He was gone, off to the races. Now, depending on what hash mark you want as well. Now, you could throw the comeback route. If you're on the far right hash, you could throw it to the inside, going that way towards the touchdown. I don't know how Carson Wentz actually can throw both post routes both ways. So you already know what that is. So the comeback route will probably be his most second deadly route that he runs. Now, the fly route, we all know about the fly route. I know we're all anxious to see just the deep fly route with Desean Jackson, but that's not all Desean Jackson is. A lot of teams and a lot of players, well, a lot of quarterbacks that he's played for got lost in exactly how to use Desean Jackson. Desean Jackson is a masterful route runner, and I believe those skills and that skill set is going to be put on display this upcoming season. I like the rhythm and the cohesion that Carson Wentz is building with Desean Jackson. I like the routes that I'm seeing out of him. I like him exposing guys. You see, when you line up with Desean Jackson, he basically knows the route in his head that he has to run to beat you. If you're a slow guy, a big physical guy, the comeback route, you're done. the comeback route, you're done. But a comeback route is what I like to call a traffic passing play. Now, you can throw the comeback route, and the comeback route, you can get a wily vet at cornerback as well, and he can get back in time to break that comeback pass up if the timing is off, or maybe even intercept it if the ball goes if the ball gets away from the quarterback. So the comeback route is very effective yet very dangerous. Now, Desean Jackson on these crossing routes could be dangerous for him as well. Remember when he was an Eagle, came through on a crossing route and got concussed, knocked out of the game. I think it was actually an Atlanta Falcon. Yeah, they knocked him out of the game. So these crossing routes right here can potentially open up some other intermittent passing lanes for other wide receivers, especially against the zone. Now, the way you want to bust the cover two, basically a post route will always bust the cover two, or deep down the middle will always bust the cover two. These crossing routes will ride along the zone, so the zone will pay attention to who's coming across the zone. You could bust the zone with these crossing routes as well. You don't really want to throw too many comebacks on a crossing route, especially a cover two, because in a cover two defense, you have that cornerback just sitting on routes like that, short crossing routes and stuff like that. I'm sorry if I'm out of the camera. Cover two defense basically sits down on the crossing routes. So so it's so many ways that Desean Jackson can allow other guys to get open on these deep post routes right here. That safety got to pay attention to Desean Jackson. Desean Jackson can be a decoy a lot in this in some of these passing schemes for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he also could be the weapon that we picked him up to be. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know how you guys think Desean Jackson could be utilized. But these are the best routes. These are the most critical routes that I think Desean Jackson can be used on. I personally don't want to see Desean Jackson returning any punts. I don't want to see Desean Jackson running any jet sweeps. We got Nelson Aguilar for stuff like that. I just don't want to see anything like that. Now, you can use Desean Jackson in some misdirection for a jet sweep. Fake a jet sweep to Desean Jackson, because everybody in the building got to look at Desean Jackson. Everybody got to keep their eyes on number 10, and that's going to help a lot of guys eat. I can see a breakout year due to a lot of the attention that Desean Jackson is going to get by Alshon Jeffrey. One of his best years as an Eagle could be coming up. Alshon Jeffrey and Desean Jackson and Zach Ertz are going to command a lot of attention based upon how they've played. I can see Nelson Aguilar putting in work in the slot. I can see Dallas Goedert really getting off. I can see Alshon Jeffrey. It's like pick your poison, man. It's not no team in the NFL that I believe has two lockdown cornerbacks. So who you going to put your number one cornerback on when it's time to play the Philadelphia Eagles? Your cornerback could potentially be too small for Alshon Jeffrey, which is most of the case. Or your cornerback could potentially be too slow for Desean Jackson, which is likely most of the case. Let me know what you're going to do, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. Thank you for subscribing. Please subscribe, like, and share. This is the most dangerous routes I think Desean Jackson has in his repertoire, and I think we're going to exploit a lot of people this year, man. Fly, Eagles, fly.